My name is Massimo Triassi, and this is my story.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Tales to Tell. Thank you for being here, Massimo. Honestly, I've been thinking what I would say once I hit the record button, but I was like, I'll just go with the flow. And now I have nothing to say except hello, everybody. How are you doing, Massimo?
I'm really good. Had a nice morning. Woke up, drove here. I'm on vacation, so I'm really de-stressed these days.
What have you been doing? Vacation.
Honestly, a lot of it has just been blogging and trying to build up my professional image, which is a little bit weird.
You blog?
Yeah, well, technical blogging, right? So I'm writing about stuff like running Laravel in Docker in production. There's a lot of guides for running a specific tech stack that I work with in your development environment, but not a lot of good guides for it online for production. And then writing about stuff like how I use note-taking tools at work. So I have something called Obsidian that I use, and I shared my setup on my blog, stuff like that. It's just small baby steps.
You lost me.
I lost you?
Since the
Okay,
beginning.
sorry.
I know I have a computer science background, but not that smart.
Come on, man. I thought
We already lost all of our listeners. What the hell are you talking about? Oh, God. Thank you for that. Well, I guess we'll get to that at some point.
Sure, yeah.
Again, thank you for coming, for saying yes to doing this podcast, even though you had no idea what this was going to be about until 2 days ago, basically.
Well, how can I say no to you? You're my son.
Thank you, Dad. Yes, this is my dad, everybody.
Not really.
Not really. No, why'd you not tell them that? Oh, God. All right. I wrote an official description on this. Mm-hmm. I guess I should read this. This is going to be the only part where I'm going to sound super professional.
Sure.
Okay. Welcome to Tell to Tell, a storytelling podcast focused on the stories that matter most, so your stories. Every episode, guests from all walks of life join us to share the journeys that define them, the people who impacted them, and anything else that is important to them. Some of the stories may put a smile on your face, while others could make you shed a tear or two. But above all, we hope that listening to these stories can positively impact you in any shape or form, even just a little. This episode, I have the pleasure of welcoming
Massimo Triassi.
This is the first time I hear you say your last name. It's a lot of first time for everything. To the show, thank you, welcome. So yeah, Massimo, so what's your story?
Oh man, how much time you got?
2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, my story's, I would say not a super remarkable one, I guess it depends where you want to start, right? Childhood.
How were you born?
How was I born? That I don't quite remember.
Okay.
Some of my earliest memories, though, do involve, using the computer, which is funny enough.
Do you remember what age?
Yeah, 3 or 4. So this is some of this is from my mom, right? That she told me about. She said that as young as 3 years old, before I can walk properly, I was able to browse the internet.
Wow.
She'd say oh, you would, find, Barney.com or whatever and watch your cartoons or play your games online.
Are your parents doing something computer related?
No, not even close. They have no idea how any of that works.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
So it's really I figured it out on my own sort of deal. I was the proverbial iPad baby version 1.0, except maybe the skills that I developed with computers developed into something a little bit more useful than.
I hope the young people listening to this and they're well, what's a computer?
Yeah, I mean there are kids now that have no idea how to use a computer, right?
I watched my cousin grow up and all they had in their hands were iPads.
Yeah.
Obviously now they're older, they know how to use a PC, but before it was iPads until teenage years.
Yeah, it's a real problem sometimes too, right? With kids, it's they don't know how a file system works or how do you where? What do you mean files? Where are they? What's that?
Not everybody's as smart as you, Massimo.
I don't think it's that. I think it's just not getting the exposure that you need to things.
Anyway, sorry. You were into computers.
Yeah. So that kind of like affected me, I think, to some degree. I was always like interested in computers when I was young. But I was also really interested in like science and math, physics. So for a while I thought, oh, I'll be a physicist, you know? As I got older though, like 7, 10 years old, I really like fell in love with stuff like Iron Man. Like I loved Iron Man. It's so good. So that's kind of when I decided I was going to be an engineer. I thought like for a while mechanical engineer, because that's like, you know, Tony Stark-esque. This is the closest thing that you can get. He's not really like a civil engineer, that's for sure, you know. So I decided I was going to pursue that, and I like kept that in mind when I was doing my studies. You know, I did all the high level math and pure and applied sciences stuff, like in high school at least. By the time I got to Sec 5, though, I had like a little bit of a, you know, difficult teacher in physics, which kind of like put me off of that for a little bit. You know, I was kind of like, man, this is rough. Like she's not super nice, you know, like it was discouraging, you know.
But did you like the subject itself? What you were
Yeah,
learning?
I did. I found it really interesting, you know, like so much so that like the year before when I was in Sec 4, let's say, right, I was blasting through the science curriculum so much that my teacher at the time gave me like a grade level up in the physics textbooks. She gave me the physics textbook. She said, "Here, like you're bored in class, like read this instead." Right? She was really awesome. I loved her a lot, and she like helped my love of science develop. I think at that age, you know, Sec 3, Sec 4.
But the Sec 5 teacher discouraged you in the sense that she didn't have the same passion.
Yeah, she was just really tough on people, right? And not in a like I want you to do well. Like it just like it almost felt malicious a little bit.
Only against you, or was that?
I think against
general?
everyone. I don't think it was
Okay.
personal. No, I don't think it was personal. I doubt it was. You know, the thing is, I had a good set of other teachers that were encouraging, right? So it didn't put me off of like science and technology completely. It's just like that particular subject. Like I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to be a mechanical engineer and I'm going to be doing physics, I don't know. Like what if all physics teachers are like this? I don't know. I have no idea. It was my first time having like a specific physics teacher. I didn't know, right? So I decided, okay, well, I'm really good at computers. I'm really good with computers. I'm interested in programming. I've been doing a little bit of programming at that point already. So I was like, okay, I'll go computer science, you know? And I don't know why, but I didn't choose the computer science and math program.
That was going to be my question.
Right? Yeah, I have no idea why I didn't. I think it's because I wanted a bit more exposure to like hands-on stuff. I'm very hands-on in terms of like when I do things. Yeah.
In case maybe we get listeners outside of Quebec, for people that don't know, what's the difference between computer science and math and computer science technology, which you end up taking?
Yeah. So in Quebec, we have like a CEGEP system, which is like an in-between high school and university. And there you get to like kind of choose your path in a sense. You could do something like pure and applied sciences, and that's your typical like Cal 1, Cal 2, chemistry, stuff like that. Specifically though, there was two options at our CEGEP, which was computer science and math, which was basically pure and applied sciences with a couple of computer science classes. So like you learn object-oriented programming and like
you're being generous. That's four. It's four classes.
4 programming classes.
It's basically one per semester.
Exactly. Yeah.
Of 4 semesters.
Yeah. So it really like only partially exposes you to computer science. And then there's another program called Computer Science Technology, which is like a 3-year program and is geared to like prepare you for the workforce effectively, right? It gives you all the skills you might need to work at a company. And that's the one I took, which is like counterintuitive to my goal, right? Which is becoming an engineer, because that program doesn't prepare you to get an engineering degree or go to university. It expects you to not do that, actually. So it was kind of like a weird experience doing that and having that overarching goal in mind, you know?
Now, did you regret taking it though?
Well, no, I mean, that's where I met you, right?
I knew you were going to say.
No, but I mean, apart from that, I think it was good because it gave me a lot of extra skills that I wouldn't otherwise have when I was doing my software engineering degree. And it honestly like landed me a job that kind of carried me through my university career. At the end of that 3-year program, you have to get an internship with a company, right? I landed one with a pretty cool company called Plank, and they were really generous enough to let me stay there throughout my entire time in university, and I'm still there today. So that was like really formative for me. It put me ahead in a lot of things in my classes, where some of my classmates would be getting exposure to something for the first time. It would actually have been my like 3rd or 4th or 5th time seeing this, because I'd done it at work already. So that's kind of nice,
Throwing you a curveball.
Sure.
Do you remember the first time we met?
Ooh. I mean, I want to say it was in class somewhere.
No shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, can we swear in this podcast? I haven't decided.
It's your choice.
It's okay. I'll bleep it out if I don't like it.
Okay.
Sorry. Continue.
Yeah. I don't know if it was in one of our project classes or not, though. I don't think it was.
So my answer is I don't recall. Well, I obviously knew you existed, your name, whatever, and I think I saw a couple times where I'm like, oh, this guy is smart. Just the way you answer the questions to teachers. But yes, like you said, I think that it's I forget the name of the class, system dev. I think.
Oh yeah, with
Mr. Lemon. So that's when we actually start talking. Well, we didn't have a choice. We were put into the team together.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's. What was your first impression of me? Do you remember? I just told you, like, I'm like, this looks like a super smart guy. Yeah,
you like definitely to me like knew your stuff to some degree, but you also were a bit mysterious, like and I mean that, like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, you're very secretive. You still are today.
As I always keep saying, sometimes you need to add some spice in your life.
Yeah,
bring a little excitement. Yeah,
because I remember you spoke about like, oh, I have like a community of people that like are interested in some of the stuff that I'm doing. Because you had like, I can't remember exactly what it was. It was like a page of some kind that had gained some popularity, and like there was like a community that had grown around it.
That was one of my first gigs. Yeah, I used to run this. I don't want to call it blog. It was like, it's more like a Facebook page where I was sharing gaming news, and like I organically, like, I think got like 1,000 followers.
It's pretty good.
Like, I didn't pay for anything. I got 1,000 followers. Obviously, it was like, it got, because like I would stay up until like, because sometimes I want to cover like the news in Japan.
Sure.
And we have the Tokyo Game Show.
Okay.
Again, this game very nerdy, and I would stay up until 3, 4, 5 a.m. to write news. I was very dedicated to my craft, as you probably noticed from my other stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's about the time when I stopped doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know when exactly. Anyways, enough about me. Yeah, okay, sure. I'm mysterious.
I just remember you being secretive about that stuff. I'd like ask you, and you would like, like I did this thing, whatever.
I'm gonna flex more. Do you know I have a YouTube channel with almost 3 million views, something like that?
Actually, yeah, that's really impressive.
From those days.
That's impressive.
Because what I would do is I would upload the trailers to my own channel and share it, and that's how we get views.
That's smart.
And I was the first one to post about the 3DS announcement trailer.
Oh my god! Okay.
So I was like, I got a lot of views from that.
Yeah, fans were probably rabid about that at that time,
Yeah,
3DS
but now it's you can't do that anymore because it's
you get copyright
strike.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's other things about you, right? You would like didn't want to share like your age and stuff. You're like super secretive about all that stuff.
Yeah, I still don't.
Of course. I still don't really know how old you are.
Because it's funny. It's funny. I'm having fun because like as an Asian, people either guess you're 18 years old or I'm 50 with a couple of kids.
Exactly. Yeah. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
You think it's cool?
Yeah, I think it's funny. Like it's like cool. Like, I don't know. I just like it, But yeah, you seemed like a really chill guy overall, So that was my impression of you.
Am I a chill guy though?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. You're goofy sometimes though. You say some goofy stuff, but it adds to your charm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So just to finish, my impression of you sounds very like the way you speak. You sound like a very smart person. No, you are a smart person, and then added to that, you're in robotics, which I'm like, oh my god. and then on top of that, you film for the robotics club.
Mm-hmm.
Was it? Oh no, sorry, you were part of the official Vanny audiovisual, not club,
Yeah,
team.
VTV. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was like one of my first jobs before, like I got my internship. Also, I appreciate you saying that I'm very smart. I think I'm average intelligence. I play up. I use fancy words. Like I use $10 words a lot of the time, and it makes people think I'm smart. And it's like a bad habit.
But
I
see,
have,
you're smart enough to think about that.
I guess,
know?
right? Like it's just self-awareness, right? I had an English teacher who said like people who are smart will get smart enough and realize how little they actually know. And like, I think that's where I'm at. Like maybe I'm like a little bit intelligent and like I realize that there's so much stuff to know and that I'll like probably never know or understand all of it. But I like to explore it,
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that's why I joined things like robotics, right? I still had that mechanical engineering desire, or like that Tony Stark desire, and like that was as close as I was going to get, and that exposed me to stuff that I would have not otherwise seen, So it's just about experience.
Would you want, if for somehow you can do it, would you want to do a full-time job
Sure.
being a okay?
Yeah, like as a roboticist, like
Yeah.
like working at Boston Dynamics or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That'd be super cool.
Are you still trying to do so, or
I thought about it. The thing is, like, as it stands, the trajectory I've taken in my career has been focusing on web technologies, So I write web applications, right? I write back-end code, and that's very different from robotics code, right? The language is different. The level at which you're programming is different, as in like how close to the metal are you, right? The abstraction levels, basically. And that experience that I have is not useful for something like robotics, right? So I'd be basically starting at zero, and it'd be really hard to like get my foot in the door. So like I definitely have thought about it. I've seen positions at Boston Dynamics and been like, maybe can I apply there? Like, but I don't have like the requirements, so I would need to find an entry level position, which is super hard to find these days.
for anything?
For anything. Yeah. So I'd love to, but like,
Okay.
I'd need someone to take a chance on me,
But are you happy doing what you do right now? Is there any regrets?
No, I wouldn't say that I'm like unhappy or that I have regrets for the path that I've taken. I like web and I want bigger challenges in the web field, like in that technology. Recently I was like watching some lectures from MIT, which great resource, by the way. MIT puts all of their lectures online for free, or most of them, at least the computer science and software engineering ones. And I was watching one about distributed systems a couple days ago, and like that sounds really interesting. I'd love to like try something like that, but you need the right application to do that, right? The first thing that the professor says in that class is, if you can solve a problem not using distributed systems, do that, because using distributed systems will always be more complex, always be more difficult, always come with more complications, So you can't just like throw that solution at a problem and hope that it'll work, So yeah, I mean, there's so much to explore in every domain. I don't think it really matters where you are. I'm like really interested in any aspect of computer science or software engineering in general, I did even a lot of like machine learning stuff in university, and that's super interesting. And I'd love to apply some of that somewhere. And the intersect between web and machine learning is like getting closer and tighter because of all these web services that run a machine learning platform. So like I have confidence that I'll be exposed to that stuff eventually in my work, and I have been to some degree in my current job. We did like some AI stuff, but it's been like really basic, like use ChatGPT to like expose something on a website, like use their API and not like train our own AI or anything like that, which I'd love to try doing at some point. So yeah, I mean, overall, do I have any regrets? No, I don't think so. I mean, there's just so much to experience, and I'd like to experience it,
Speaking of experience, you have a lot of passions outside of this computer science spectrum. One of them being D&D.
Oh yeah. Oh boy.
So where does that come from of your computer science passion?
Yeah, so I think the story there is, and you kind of alluded to robotics, right? The story there is that when I joined the robotics team, there was a lot of people that were interested in playing D&D. I had known about D&D for a long time, and like one of my math teachers in high school, incredible teacher, by the way, Mr. DeLuca, one of my like mentors and my early mentors, who kind of like pushed me to continue to pursue math and science and stuff like that. He liked D&D, and like I started to like read about it and had no one to really play with, and he didn't either. There wasn't really like a club at school for that in our high school, which I learned, by the way. He formed a D&D club after I left, which I was so jealous of. But anyways.
Also, D&D, I would say, exploded in the last
couple
decade,
years.
I would max.
Yeah, exactly. It was, when I was interested in it, was when it was still like a little bit nerdy, but like people were starting to maybe hear about it more. I think it's like when Stranger Things came out, that's when it really like took off. And
really?
Yeah,
okay.
For sure. Because it's all like they name monsters in Stranger Things about like after D&D monsters. Like the Demogorgon is a real monster in D&D. Vecna is a real like character in D&D. They didn't make those names up,
Okay. I've never watched Stranger Things. My exposure of this, aside from friends like you, comes from the group Critical Role.
Yeah.
Because I follow those voice actors from
video games and some stuff. Yeah. That's another popular one. Like I would say, let's say like 60% of the time, if someone sits down at a table to play D&D with me for the first time, their exposure to D&D has either been Critical Role, Stranger Things, or I don't know, like Vox Machina, which is like a new animated series that's been getting really popular. There's a couple of other things sometimes that people are like, oh, I know about it through this or whatever, but it's usually one of those three. So yeah, I started playing, before that. I'm kind of cool. I liked it before it was cool. No, I started playing in CJEP, early CJEP, when I joined the robotics team, because a lot of people wanted to play, and we were like, screw it, let's just play,
Because you kept bringing it up, or they just all organically was like, oh, I'm thinking of D&D?
Yeah, it kind of organically came up. I don't think it was like me being a trailblazer or anything like that. Like, we kind of like, someone mentioned it. I was like, oh, I've always wanted to play that or whatever,
Okay.
Yeah, so we started with like D&D 3.5, like the third and a half edition of D&D, which is pretty old at this point, Right now, we're on the 5.5 edition of D&D. Just came out, actually. The 2024 rules just came out like a couple weeks ago, basically, maybe a month or two. And I've been following it since then. I played all throughout CJEP with my robotics team. And when I left CJEP, or when they all graduated or what have you, when we all kind of went our separate ways, I also started playing again with my coworkers. So one of my coworkers, who's like the owner of the company, Steve, he runs a group called the Firehawks. We have like a name.
That's a cool name.
We have a name. We have like a logo. We have T-shirts and pins and stuff. It's really funny.
What?
Yeah. No one really like knows us outside of like the Dungeons and Dragons scene in Montreal.
Oh.
Like we have a couple of people who have heard of us, but we're not like popular by any stretch of the imagination. But that group I joined maybe a year into them playing, because I mentioned to Steve that like I liked D&D, and he was like, oh, you should play a couple games with us, So I was a guest star in that group for a little while. And then eventually I became like a permanent cast member, if you will, permanent player. And we played for 4 years, I would say, and without missing a week. I played with them for 4 years without missing a week.
Like still to this day, it's been 4 years.
I just retired from the group.
No.
Yeah, I just retired from the group. Yeah, I wanted to like try other groups and like experience different things a little bit, because like you're playing with a group for 4 years, how the games are going to go down, and I just wanted like a different experience, and I needed a bit of time for myself too. I was like kind of, I don't know, I was like in a difficult place a little bit sometimes, and like that happens. I'm still like kind of like working through that stuff, but yeah, it's like a number of things, right? And it's a really fun group though, you know, and like that experience of like being able to play every week without fail is like not something that most people get to do, you know. So I've played every hardcover book in D&D that they've released official, like the official Wizards of the Coast books. I've played almost all of them, you know. And a lot of them are really good. Some of them are not, but you know, it's like hit and miss with writing. I'm sure, like, you know, within video games, like sometimes games are written well, sometimes games are written really bad. You know?
No comment.
No comment. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so that's where that comes from. I've always really liked it. I still like it today. A lot of my D&D time comes from or goes towards D&D Montreal now, which is like a nonprofit that I volunteer for. They are like, basically they'll put on a game every month or so, like every 6 weeks. And it's a charity event. You pay $10 as a cover fee and that goes to charity. And then during the game, you can also pay to like re-roll your dice or get a natural 20, which is, if no one plays D&D, if you haven't played D&D before, getting a natural 20, rolling a 20 on the 20-sided dice means an automatic success or a critical hit, right? Depending on if you're in combat or if you're doing like a social interaction or something.
So you guys are doing pay to win. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, it's pay to win, but for a good cause. Okay, it's for a very good
fair.
cause, right? It's usually like a very nice charity, like the Heart and Stroke Foundation or Moisson Montréal, or this next one that's coming up in December, I think on the 7th or the 8th, is probably going to be for Carolyn's Community, which is like a gift giving charity where they like give gifts to underprivileged children. So like, you know, it's all in good fun. And at the end of the day, there's no like winning in D&D, right? There's just like, did you tell a good story or not, right?
I remember this. I forgot her name, but Deborah something. Ah, crap. She's in Daredevil. She plays D&D, and she was in this podcast with oh man, I'm blanking. She was in the podcast, and they were asking about D&D, and like. And the host was like, "Can you explain to me what D&D is?" And like, sure. And then she started just this random like story, and then I like kept asking, like, "Okay, what would you do in this case? What would you do in this case?"
I love that.
And then at the end of it, it's like, "Oh, there's a monster coming. So what would you do?" I was like, "Oh, well, I will like use my bow and shoot at them." And then. Yeah, you should go watch that. But like, she ended that with like, see, this is the D&D. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like, and then exactly, the guy was like, "What's the point of this?" Like, the point is just to tell a good story.
Yeah,
and I'm like, exactly.
Literally. Yeah, I love that's a great. I never thought of that. Like just like doing like a little impromptu session with someone when they ask me what is D&D.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of like creativity though to do something like that. Right? You need to like really be on the ball. I have like stopped running stuff like homebrew improvisation, like full improvisation, a long time ago, just because like it's so hard to come up with stuff on the spot, and players will never do what you expect them to do, like ever, right? So like if that's going on, you're like doubly improvising, right? You're like making up a story as you go, and you have to like handle the potential wrench that your players will throw into the mix, you know? There's this funny like dungeon master proverb that I like to share with my friends whenever like we talk about D&D, which is, if you give your players 2 doors, they will tunnel through the wall every single time. Okay, it's like if you never expect them to do that, you know, you're like, oh man, like I didn't think what was gonna happen here, you know. So yeah, now I mostly run like hardcover books, or what I'll do is I'll like write my own adventure, which I do that very rarely. But I have a couple that I've been like kind of writing and like thinking about running for people.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but like aside from the one you from D&D you did at work, the other ones you're the dungeon master, right?
A lot of the time, yeah. Sometimes I'm the player, but it really depends on the group. Like if there's someone who is experienced with D&D and they like want to dungeon master, I yield to them. Absolutely. Like, yeah, you want to run the game? No problem, you know?
But I'm guessing with your first robotics group, you the end?
We swapped between myself and my friend Alex, Alex Hayer, he's also a very good DM. He's really good at improvisation. Like he will make stuff up as we go, and like he's super good at that. It's like a skill that I would like to build up, but it's a hard one to acquire, you know. And he would kind of just like run. I think it was a homebrew world, if I remember correctly. That he would just like, and homebrew is just like a word we make for made up at home. It's not like an official story or anything. But yeah, he would just kind of like, as we played, make stuff up and like craft a story as we went, you know, which was super cool, very exciting. I don't even really remember what world I was running when I would run games. The last story I remember running for them was a hardcover book, and that was in university, like around university times. We had like reformed our group with some new people we had met in university, or like basically like I had pulled in a couple people that I knew at university and be like, hey, like let's run a game. And we ended up running something called Descent into Avernus, where like the party investigates how an entire city got teleported into hell and like how to get it back. It's like super exciting story, and it's like this cool redemption arc of a fallen angel who, you know, has yielded to like the ruler of hell. It's super, super cool. And like if anyone is interested in playing D&D, I suggest you look at Descent into Avernus. It's a very well written book.
What would you say? Well, that's a good point. What would you say to anyone that are thinking of getting to D&D? Like what would be your tips?
It's a big commitment, right? And it's a lot of complexity to get into. But like stuff like Baldur's Gate, which is the other thing that I forgot about that has brought a lot of people into D&D recently, will like kind of prepare you to like understand the rules a little bit. But the most important thing is to not get so caught up on all those rules. D&D is a shared storytelling experience, and it's about having fun, right? It's about telling a good story at the end of the day. So if you don't follow the rules 100% correctly, that's fine. It's as long as the dungeon master, whoever's running the game, is okay with that, then there's really no problem, right? So just do it. Just play a game, one game, and don't focus too hard on like the numbers aspect of it, right? Just try and understand like you can do whatever you want and try and express yourself in that situation. Like how would you as a character, or how would your character that you've made up express themselves in a specific situation, you know? How would they behave? And really try and embody that person. And yeah, and just have fun, you know? Like there's so many ways to get into D&D, right? You don't have to play for 4 years every week for 4 hours a week straight, you know? You can play one game for 2 hours once and decide if you like it or not. And after that experience, you'll know if it's fun or not.
How did you prepare to get into it? Like before that first session?
Yeah.
Like how did you learn everything?
I mean, I watched a ton of videos on like, okay, like how do the rules work? And that's kind of like, that's why I'm saying don't worry too much about the rules, because it was almost anxiety inducing. You know, it's like how...
I remember I looked at like you sent me the book. I looked at the book. I'm like, oh my god, this is because I play hardcore RPG sometimes, and I look at it, I was like, this is more hardcore than that hardcore RPG game that I'm playing.
Yeah, there's so much going on, and it's because it needs to be able to account for literally anything, right? Like you can do anything within reason, right? If you want to try and blow up the universe, you could probably do that eventually. Right, like you can't do it just like as a level 1, you know, fighter. You're not going to be able to do that, but like you can get there, and that's the cool thing about it, right? Is like, yeah. So the way I prepared is I watched a ton of videos. I tried to read the player handbook from front to back, and it was like almost a stressful experience, you know. But when we started playing, like, obviously, like all of your memory all the facts you've tried to remember go out the window because it's like you're just in the moment playing, and it was super fun at that point, you know, like, and that's why I suggest to people to not focus too much on the rules. You know, if you have a good dungeon master, then they'll kind of tell you what you can and can't do or how to do something, you know, like if you say you want to jump across a chasm, he'll tell you the different ways that you could potentially do that, right? You can use brute force, or maybe you have something with your magic that lets you able to jump farther or fly or whatever, or maybe you can like throw a rope or anything like that, you know. And they'll give you those options, or they'll help you at least determine the percent likelihood that you'll succeed at doing one of those things, you know, because it's all probability, right? Like, how good am I at a particular thing in D&D? How good is my character at a particular thing? And what do the dice say, right? When I roll the dice, what's my result, right? And that's where the pure randomness comes in. So, yeah.
So you mentioned a couple of times, okay, it depends on your DM and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, but how do I get a DM?
Yeah.
If I just want to play. Because I'm guessing you can't be a DM if it's just your first time playing.
I wouldn't say that.
Unless you're with a group of full of people, first timers.
Yeah, exactly. That's fine. Like, when you're in a group of first timers, or even if you're not with a group of first timers, like, you could be a novice DM. You've never played Dungeons and Dragons before, and you have like a ton of really experienced D&D players with you. That's also a way to like play the game for the first time. As long as the players understand that like it's your first time, you're gonna make mistakes. You don't really know what you're doing, and you might not know all the rules, right? How do you find a DM? Again, it's like super random. Like, you'll run into people and like, oh yeah, I've been playing D&D for so and so years. Like, I've never found like a good way to like find a particular DM. I guess like if you were really trying to look for one, you can join like Discord communities. Like, D&D Montreal has a Discord community, and you can like post in the looking for group channel, and you could say like, hey, I'm looking for a DM, or hey, I am a DM and I'd like a group. And people will kind of congregate towards you, or, you know, they'll self-organize. You could also just like go to an event and like meet people, and, you know, that way you can play a little bit, and maybe you'll find a DM that you really like, you know, you get to talk to them, and that's a good way to meet them and to like potentially make that connection. It's just about getting out there, really. That's the only way you'll find a DM, right? Is you just like talk to people about stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Do you like to be a DM? Or a player? Which would you prefer?
It's a good question. I like honestly ask myself that question a lot of the time, and I don't have a good answer. You know, I like running games because I like seeing smiles on people's faces. I like bringing joy to people, and like I love when people leave my table and be like, "Oh my god, that was so much fun!" Right? But honestly, it's like a bit stressful running a game because like I'm putting that weight on myself, you know, and that's like my own personal issues. Like I make myself responsible for other people's happiness, and maybe I shouldn't do that.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to do, but it's not great for me, you know. You have to be a little bit selfish in life sometimes, right?
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, and it's something like that. If you're like a people pleaser, you're gonna struggle with, right? And that's part of your childhood and your upbringing and stuff like that. But anyways, being a player is very fun too, because you get to like indulge in a story and you get to be a character, right? Like, it's this really nice escapism for me where I like, usually what I'll do with my characters is I'll take some facet of my personality and then I'll like exaggerate it to the umpteenth degree, you know? Like this desire to be intelligent, let's say, right? Like I told you before, like, oh, I use $10 words sometimes, right? I took that and I extended it to the point where like I made a character that would do anything to become smarter. Anything. He was obsessed with knowledge to the point where he was crazy. Like he was like a cannibal, effectively. He would like murder other wizards and try and eat their brains because that's what he thought made him smarter, even though it was just him leveling up, right? It was like the most deranged version of that I can think of. And it was a great character. Like the table loved him, you know? And you get really good character moments of this like jealousy or this anger or like this, you know, this struggle that you don't get to see in your regular life because like that's just not how real people are, you know?
Really?
Yeah. I mean, ideally they're not like that. So yeah, it's like he was a great character. I still try and whip him out every now and again because he's just like a great character. You know, he has like a funny voice and, you know, he'll like get jealous and get into like pissing competitions with other wizards basically about like who's the better wizard. It's like really funny. Other times I'll like emulate like a movie character I really like. Like I have a Hadazi, which is like a monkey man, basically like a half human, half monkey. And I named him Comet. and he's like a magical tinkerer. So he's called an artificer in D&D, and he can like make devices that are powered by magic. And he's basically like Rocket Raccoon, you know, from Guardians of the Galaxy. So he'll like make fun of people and call them idiots. And again, he thinks he's a little smarter than everyone, right? Because he's a wizard and he has like this knowledge that people don't have. But I don't know, it's just cool to like step into the shoes of another person that is not you, and that is like not something you'll ever be, or not, you know, like just so different from who you are. And I don't know, it's cool to experience that, right? So I don't know, like, do I like being a DM or a player more? It's so hard to say, you know, like there's upsides to both. And I wish it wasn't like so stressful running, you know, games. I see other DMs and they like effortless for them, you know, it's like they're not fumbling to like gather stuff or like to like keep a straight train of thought on like how to run the session. And like that's a skill I'd love to like pick up, and that's something that I love watching when I'm a player, right? I kind of like look for those things and see if I can like grab little snippets from them, you know. And it's worked. I've picked up a lot of nice tricks to run games in that way, you know.
You know, I have so much respect for people that play that game because, like you say, it's a lot of improv.
Yeah.
So much so that I'm like, you guys are a type of storyteller. And that brings me to my next question. Like, is this something you want to explore one day? Like, I don't know, write a book or anything storytelling related. Is that something that would interest you?
I mean, I've thought about it. So a big problem I have in my life is deciding to do something, because I'll usually look up that thing first. You know, like let's say I have an idea for like a business or like a product. I'll like look up that product first, see if it exists, and be like, oh, it already exists in like 15 different places. So why would I do it, right?
Iterate on it.
Yeah, iterate on it is the right answer, right? But in my head, I don't think that. So like when I start thinking of like a story that I'd want to tell, I like look out there and I see like, man, every story I feel like has been told, you know? And like, that's true to some degree, no matter the fact, because there's like this set of, I can't remember what it is. I think it's like 37 Greek stories or something like that. There's like this thing in Greek mythology, or not Greek mythology, but like Greek theater, I guess, where they synthesized every type of story that can be told. And like if you know those 37, or I can't remember exactly how many stories it is, you can look at any piece of media and you can identify like which story it is, and or like which combination of stories it is, right? It's like the unrequited love, or the, you know, the fool, or the, you know, whatever. There's like a bunch of, they have names, you know. So like I always think of that and I'm like, what unique story can I tell? Even if it is one of those 37 stories, like how can I think of something that's so different and would be interesting to people, you know? I struggle to do that, you know? I like to take inspiration from other stuff, and like I think everybody does when they create, but it's just like not a process that I have. You know, so like, would I want to do it one day? Maybe, but I wouldn't write a book or a story or something like that without having a really, really good idea, you know?
Okay.
It's like my first forays into story writing have been like trying to write D&D adventures. Like I've written full universes for D&D, and I still have those on like a Trello board. I think I've shown you Trello before.
Yes.
I still have those on a Trello board somewhere.
Thank you for introducing me to Trello, by the way.
Oh yeah, no problem.
I fucking love Trello.
It's great, right?
Yes,
it's a good product. Yeah. I still have those stories somewhere, and they're good stories, but like, again, they're far from unique, right? And they take inspiration from a lot of other stories. So like, I don't know, even the one-shot modules that I've been writing lately are inspired by like things that I've seen in media that I thought was really funny, you know? Like there is a show called Game Changer, which is like, I don't know if you know who Brennan Lee Mulligan is.
No. Maybe by face, but no.
He's like a very famous DM on, there's something called Dropout TV. You remember College Humor?
Yes.
Okay.
I barely watched that, but yes.
Okay, so College Humor evolved into Dropout TV, and then they made a bunch of shows. Like one of them is Game Changer, but another one is Dimension 20, which is like a D&D show, live D&D show, which is another popular piece of media that people sit down at my table having watched. he was on that show Game Changer, and he made a funny line about like a metro or like a subway announcement voice gaining sentience and like taking control of the subway, And I was like, that would be a really good Dungeons and Dragons adventure. So like I started writing a story about that and like what's going on there, But again, like it's not my original thought, I find it so hard to find like an original thought. So
my advice is just go for it, man.
For
just
sure.
Go for it.
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
You might have read the story, but the people you're gonna I'm assuming you're gonna be DM. The people that you're gonna run this with, they might have never heard of this story before.
Absolutely, yeah, you're right. I feel like it's cheap to myself to like have taken someone else's original kernel.
I can give you a direct example right now. Like,
yeah.
When I was trying to think of ideas for this podcast, I was like, what can I do to make it different?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, let's face it, there are pretty other variations of this type of podcast I'm doing, but I'm like, oh, whatever, I'll just go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And you've seen all my other projects. I'm like, I'll just do it.
Mm-hmm. But you have a lot of really interesting ideas, like
what?
Well, I mean, I remember when we were working on that video game.
Yes.
Right. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about that.
Not too much.
Okay.
Are we talking about the same thing?
The one we worked on with Bori.
Oh yeah. Not too much. No.
Okay.
It's been shelved for contractual reasons.
Okay.
That's why, like, maybe one day I'll bring it back up.
Okay.
But yes, sorry.
See, secretive. So secretive.
No, but like now I was gonna say I'm contractually bound, but that's not true. I just don't want to talk about it.
That's fair.
In case I want to bring it out one day.
Either way, I think that setting, that world setting, was pretty interesting. Like kind of creative and fairly unique. I don't think I've personally ever seen something like that. So,
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So like that's what I'm saying.
And hey, you should do it too.
Yeah.
And then let me read it, whatever, and then maybe I'll say the same thing because clearly there's all that stuff that you consume that I don't.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, everyone has their own like little niche or like view into the universe or into the internet, right? The media that they consume and stuff like that. So it's always going to be different for people, but like I know what my view of the world is, and like I know what my view of the internet is, and like I can't feel good like just copying someone's idea and like trying to pawn it off as mine. It's not. I know it's not. But like, you know what I mean, right?
Unless you're like straight up just the word for word or take their concept, whatever, I think it's fine. It's hard nowadays. There's so many creators out there for any shape or form of media, and like it's impossible.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things when I was again going back to my podcast. Like I was like, you know what, just go for it. Same thing for a name. I was trying to look for a name. Every time I come up with a good name, I was like, okay, this is a cool name. And then I Googled, I was like, God damn it, this is. It was probably the hardest thing. Find a good name that makes sense, and then that's catchy. I think this is catchy in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard. There's so many creators out there. It's hard.
Yeah, man. Like coming back to naming things. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Every time I have like a business idea or like a piece of software I want to write, I'm like, what am I going to call this thing? Like, I have no idea. I always want like a catchy name, like a word that doesn't exist, like like Google, right? It's like such a great like just nonsense word, but like works really well. I always try and like think about stuff that I like to name stuff, like, oh, I really like space and like astrophysics and stuff, so I'll like pick something from space. I'll pick like a word in math or something like that, like a universal constant or some random variable name or something like that, and then I'll like kind of modify it. But even then, like a lot of the time a business exists using that name, like it's not original.
I'll tell you what made me crack. I'm like, okay, David, you're spending way too much time on the name process. Was when I look up on public podcast name, one of them was called Rotten Mango.
Okay.
Can you guess what that podcast is about? It's a very popular podcast.
Rotten Mango. Man, like just off the name, I would assume like something with fruits, but I don't think that that's the case. I really doubt it.
It's a crime podcast.
A crime podcast. Oh, like a true murder. Yeah. Like, okay.
You would have never guessed, right?
No.
That's why I'm like, you know what? Just go. Apparently, there's a good like proverb, whatever, that goes with this name, but still, like, I'm like, you know what? Yeah.
Okay, you can have it.
But then just by chance, I came up with this name. I was like, okay, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. No, it definitely makes sense. Yeah, it's very like this is precisely like what's on the label is what you're getting, sort of deal, you know? So like, I think it's perfect that way. Cause like I said, rotten mango, I could not possibly guess what that meant, you know, unless you know that specific proverb or like that specific reference, you know? So yeah, I don't know.
No, yeah, like I would say go for it. I don't know about you, because one thing I do as a, I don't want to call myself a story writer, but storyteller, but like I do like story stuff. Whenever like I watch anything, whatever, I have an idea, I write down a notebook. You know, I don't know if you do that.
I write a lot of stuff. I have like I said, I have an Obsidian notebook. Basically, it's like I can show you after. It's like a very extensive place where I like document all of my knowledge and all of my information about myself and my life and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'll write stuff like that down for sure.
Me write by hand. So if my house burns down, I'm screwed. I have some ideas. I say so from time to time I would write, like if I get a great idea, I would write it down my notebook and then like maybe someday I'll use it someday. Totally do that and like I don't know, go for it.
I mean that's kind of where the blogging came from, like wanting to write stuff that like gets out there. It's like just get in the habit of writing stuff more often. You know, like
it's public, right? We can go.
The blog is public, yeah.
What's the address?
It's blog.triassi.ca. So blog.triassi.
And you post every.
It's like super random, yeah. Okay. Like whenever I come up, so it's a technical blog, right? So it's about software development and like my musings about that. So like if that's not something you're interested in, it's going to be a snooze fest. But whenever I have a good topic that I think is underexplored on the internet, then I'll write an article about it. Okay. Yeah. Or something that's specific to me that helps me in my work, then I'll write about it there too, you know. Same thing, I've been trying to like write, like I opened a Blue Sky. I don't know if you know what Blue Sky is.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's like a Twitter replacement, right? I like it because it's decentralized. It's not like running on one particular person's server.
I create an account. I start following people, but it's one of those things like not everybody's there yet, so I still have X open. Because of that.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, they've been getting like, I think 1 million new users per day or something like that.
Yeah, it's growing. So
lately,
eventually I'll switch.
Exactly.
But it's just one of those things like, well, I can't switch until
everyone's there.
Everyone, but not everyone, but
like, you know, majority, critical mass sort of deal. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I just made mine. So like, I get it. Like I was looking around and the dev community is like, you know, not huge, especially not in like the specific tech stacks that I work in. So like I'm trying to like build that community up myself. So like it's just like all of that is to like spur myself to write more publicly, and B, like just write stuff about myself too. Like I journal too in my Obsidian notebook. I'll journal about myself. I'll try to at least, or I'll track I have like a mood tracking app where I like write down like my emotions as of right now at the moment where I get my notification or I get time to, you know, look at it. And part of that process is, you know, you write down your feeling and then why you're feeling that way. So I have like almost a year's worth of those where I do it twice a day, you know?
Okay.
So I have like good data. It's partially the nerd in me, like having data about how my mood fluctuates and what I'm doing at the time that has like helping me decide what my mood is.
Is this basically like therapy to you in some shape or form?
Somewhat, yeah. It's like I wanted to know, like, am I sad? Am I happy? Am I angry? Like, you know, like what kind of person am I? Like, you can always like kind of guess, oh, I feel this way most of the time, but you don't have like a concrete answer. So like a lot of the time, like my big emotion in that app is apathy, or it's just kind of just like oh, whatever, you know, like, which is like a unpleasant, low energy state, right? It has like 4 states you could be in, is like positive, negative, or high energy, low energy. So basically, like, are you sad? Are you happy and calm? Are you like really excited about something, or are you mad about something, you know? So like typically I'm falling in that like low energy, kind of like maybe a little bit sad spot, you know? And like, yeah, it's like about acknowledging that to myself and like thinking about, well, what can I do to feel better about that? You know, like how can I be happy or something like that, you know?
That's cool.
Yeah.
I often hear people say like the first step to healing is to acknowledge yourself that there's an issue.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is, props to you for putting that public too.
Yeah, thanks, man. No problem. Cool. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I try and be open with people because, like, you know, people may have this like idea of who I am. Like, you have this idea of who I am. You're like, oh, you're this smart guy or whatever. But like,
you are though.
I mean, I appreciate that. But like, I have my own view of myself where I'm like, maybe I'm not that, you know, and I'm not like, I try and be like a chipper guy to people, you know, like I try and be like really upbeat and happy and encouraging to people. And sometimes it's hard to do that for yourself, you know? So I acknowledge that. That's partially why it's actually funny. We can talk about this, which might be interesting to you. It's partially why I do the dad thing. So, right?
I did not expect you to
you didn't expect that, right? So
I thought you were going to say it's partially why I wanted to do this podcast with you.
I mean, look, I mean, yes, that too. I mean, like, it's good to talk about these things, right?
Yeah.
No, but think about it, right? And for anyone that doesn't know the joke, right? The joke is that I pretend to be people's dads, right?
Okay, it's not just with me.
No, you're not the only person.
I thought it was exclusive.
I'm
God
sorry.
damn
I'm
it.
sorry, son.
God damn
I didn't want to. You have many brothers and sisters.
I've never met them too.
Yeah, I can introduce you one day.
By the way, sorry to cut you off. Do you remember how that started? I don't, because I honestly do not remember.
Yeah, I think it was.
Did you start to call me son at some point, or?
I think also. I don't know if you remember. What's his name? Jason in our computer science class. I think his name was Jason. I haven't spoken to him in so long.
Okay.
He also called me like Papa or something like that, you know, like because I was being fatherly, you know. I was like standing in front of people because I do that sometimes. Right? Like
also, well, me, it's beard and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have a very, very strong beard.
It looked very nice.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, it came up organically. It was a joke. Totally a joke at the start, but like I kind of continued doing it with other people.
Oh, so I started it.
Kind of, yeah. It started around there.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's good, I think, right? So the real like kernel of it is that I realized that so many people don't have like a positive male figure in their life that tells them that they're proud of them, you know?
That's true.
So I like my favorite line to say to my friends that I call my sons or my daughters or whatever is like, I'm so proud of you, right? Because you don't hear that often, right? Yeah. And you need someone encouraging you. It's something that I like wish I had in my life, you know? Someone that's really like always there and like, you know, cheering me on. Like, don't get me wrong, I have that with my parents to some degree, but it's different, you know. It's not there's conditions attached there sometimes, you know.
Sometimes all it takes is one person
for sure
to say they believe in you. And
exactly.
That changes your whole outlook.
Exactly. 100%, you know. So if I can be that for someone, or if I can help someone in that way, again, going back to like kind of trying to make other people happy, if I could do that, then like that's a win in life, you know. Like that's something that I've done well, you know. Even if I do nothing else good, you know, it's like at least I do that, you know. So yeah, that's where it comes from. That's where it developed into, you know. And I get to be funny about it too, right? It's like it's like a funny like hee hee ha ha, right? Like my sons are people that are like 5 inches taller than me, you know, like they're enormous, different races. It makes no sense. Like it's just hilarious, you know. It's so funny. It's like it brings a smile to people's faces, you know. So it's nice.
I mean, you know me. I also like to bring happiness to people.
Oh yeah, 100%.
One point of doing this.
Yeah,
I did not know it would spark a whole revolution.
I wouldn't call it a revolution. It's just like a quirk of mine.
Quirk of yours?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
for sure.
Yeah. I don't know what's. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
I did not expect that.
Yeah, for sure. I thought about this like last night when I was going to bed. I was like, I wonder what kind of stuff I could say, and I realized like it's probably a good thing to bring up with David. I feel like, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reveal to David that he has brothers and sisters.
Well, I mean, yeah, and that you've had like a profound impact on someone's life. You know, of course, man, for sure. It's part of why I wanted to do this, because I get to talk to you. I don't get to talk to you as often as
I mean, one of the reasons why I want to do this is because I want to share everybody's stories. And now you kept saying that, oh, this is very nerdy, but like, don't worry about it. That's the whole point. Like,
yeah, exactly.
This is your show. Like, this episode is your show. Next episode is gonna be something totally different of another subject, and
a lot of variety.
And they would nerd out on that things, you know.
Yeah, everyone's a nerd in their own respect. Yeah, you know, like about something. Right? Yeah, that's my favorite kind of people. Is people who are passionate about something,
I fucking love those people.
It's so good. It's
Yeah.
like I feel like people
and like
get
you, I mean,
scared.
and sorry, and you probably didn't notice, but I was smiling a lot because every time you talk about something you love, I'm like,
Yeah, it's
like,
great
like,
because they have passion about it.
I mean,
right?
he's going on, and I was like, yeah, go
Absolutely,
for it.
yeah.
Someone out there who's listening to this will understand everything you just said. I'll be like, you're welcome, guys.
Totally, man. Like that's it, right? Like some people are afraid to share their passions, and I think it's a really it's a huge shame. I was about to swear, and I wasn't sure what our embargo on swearing is up.
I can bleep it out.
You can bleep it out.
Worst case
Anyways,
scenario.
it's a damn shame. You
I
know?
already said the shit word 3 times now.
Yeah, that's fine.
So,
that's okay. Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, I think people have been shamed into thinking that having passion for something is shameful or weird or like, oh, why are you so excited about that thing? You know, like I hate that kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know,
same.
So I think to be uniquely yourself and to like not be afraid is something really brave and like something I struggle with too, you know, like in big groups of people that I don't know, I'll definitely like censor myself a little bit and I won't be my true self and like that feels bad, you know, that feels wrong.
Since you're passionate about a lot of niche stuff back then, well,
Now
nowadays,
it's pretty popular.
So did that happen during your childhood? Like, oh, I don't want to talk about D&D. Oh, I don't want to talk about computers, whatever. Like, did that happen a lot?
Yeah. So I mean, like, I was kind of like a weird kid, you know. Like, I liked things that people didn't like. You wouldn't expect a kid to like, you know, at my age. You know, like, I had my brother and sister are older than me, much older than me. So I think that kind of forced me to grow up a little bit more quickly than other kids. So like.
Why? Sorry.
Well, because like when there's such a big age gap between your siblings and you, like you want to be at their level, right? So you'll force yourself to grow up a little bit, you know? So like I was always like a bit of like a like old soul, or was like a bit like when, you know, like when does a kid go through their angsty years? Like 13, 14, right? I was like going through my angsty years at like 7, you know, 8, like, you know, like, so it was like a bit early. I was like listening to metal and I was like broody and stuff like that, like a teenager, you know? And it's because like, you know, my brother and sister were like around that age, maybe a little bit older than that, right? So I was like trying to catch up to them, you know? So I was like always like a bit of a weirdo, maybe even self-imposed outcast to some degree. But yeah, like I didn't feel like I could genuinely be myself as a kid, you know, to the other kids around me without being made fun of or like being kind of shunned. So like,
so were you suppressing yourself? Were you another person?
I wasn't suppressing myself, and that's what I feel like made me like be
open.
Not open, yes, but like be kind of removed from the crowd, or like to be not accepted by the group, right? It's like in human dynamics, like the tribe expects you to behave the way that they behave, right?
So you were cleared the outlier.
Yeah, I was a bit of an outlier, right? Because I was weird. I still am weird, you know, like to some degree.
You're not, man.
I'm a little bit weird. I'm a little bit weird. So like that's kind of where that comes from, of like I had a phase where I did suppress myself because I realized like if I want to be accepted by people around me, maybe I have to fall in line and like be like them, you know? And like that still lingers, you know. I still, like I said, I still struggle to like really express myself. I struggle to like be my true self around people. It's very like rare that I'll be with someone and it's like 100% unfiltered me, right? I'll always modulate myself a little bit to the person I'm with, right? I think everyone does that a little bit, but part of it is like that desire to be accepted and that like social chameleon that you want to like exhibit with them to get them to like you, right? It's like make it a more comfortable interaction, right? So now what I do is I'll just put myself in situations where the people that I get to interact with are closer to my true self, right? I'll hang out with D&D nerds because they're usually a little bit closer to who I am. You know, I'll hang out with computer science nerds because they're a little bit closer to who I am, you know? And I have different groups of friends that are not even close to that, you know? And I feel like I can't talk about the stuff that I'm passionate about because it's not interesting to them, you know? You see their eyes glaze over and like they're just not listening anymore. And like that's difficult.
But they're still your friends.
You're still my friends,
there's-
yeah.
Is it because there's some things that are...
Yeah, there's other shared interests,
Yeah.
right? Like cars or motorcycles and stuff like that.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
that's another phase I need to ask you about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
So like there's always like something that ties you down to a group of people. It's just about like deciding if you're passionate about that thing enough to spend time with them and like maybe suppress the other parts of you. Like that's the bargain I make with myself internally. Like am I interested in this thing enough to like maybe compromise who I truly am to some degree and like still get to hang out with them. I know that I don't need to do that, right? People will probably accept you for who you are no matter what, but I have this like internal thing that's like, oh, what you're talking about is boring. They don't care about this. They're not listening. You know, it's like that voice in the back of your head, you know?
But does that bother you? For example, when you
Yeah.
go with your bike crew, that you can't talk about D&D, for example.
To some degree, you know, like and can't is a strong word, right? Like I feel like I shouldn't because it's not interesting to them, you know, is really what it is. So it's all internal. It's really not like something that other people are imposing on me or anything like that. It does bother me a little bit, right? I wish I wasn't like that. But at the same time, like it serves you well to some degree to like be able to read the room, right? Because I'm sure you've met the person who just like selfishly talks about whatever they're interested in, right? And doesn't pick up that other people are not following and not interested in what they're saying. So, you know, it's like that social acumen that you have to develop is also important, right? So it's like finding that balance of like being selfish, quote unquote, and enjoying yourself, you know, or like in having other people enjoy themselves rather. Yeah, I don't know. I'm working through it every day, you know, like I'm trying to figure out what's the right balance. It's so super hard to decide, you know?
I'm going to throw you another curveball.
Sure.
In which group of friends am I in?
Oh,
And like what, like you got a bike group? What group am I in?
that's a good question. You're definitely in the like the nerdier side of stuff, you know, because
Okay.
you like anime and you like video games and stuff like that. So you're definitely one of those. Like I know that you've kind of fallen out of love with computer science and programming and stuff like that. So
Plot twist, I've never been in love with.
yeah,
programming.
you went through it because you had to sort of deal. It was like the most logical. It was like the most logical thing for you to go through.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
I never hit it, by the way. I hope I didn't make... Like, I had good grades at school and stuff, but
you were forcing yourself.
Yeah. I
It
was
wasn't
like,
you.
Yeah, I was just doing it because I'm like, yeah, I'll get some good grades here. But I think I was pretty clear. I was like, this is not my thing.
Yeah, for sure. You said that too a lot of the time in school. You know, you would mention like, I don't really like this.
That's why, like... I think that's where it comes from, the fact that that's why I keep saying, like, oh, this guy is smart. This is... So that's why sometimes, like, if I get, like, a better grade than you, I will feel back. I'm like, I'm not passionate about this. And I know if he worked just a little bit harder than me, or maybe it was you misread something, like you would get better. So that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Because in that classroom we were at, like, I positively, like, I would say 90% of people are like way smarter than me. And I don't know, maybe imposter syndrome, because I have that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I think everybody does.
But also at the same time of the guiltiness of like, I know I'm not trying that hard because this is not my passion.
Yeah, exactly.
I do it for the good grades.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And less in CJ, but in high school, like I barely studied, but I kept
Yeah.
getting good grades. I always felt bad about that because
Yeah,
I
for
know a lot of
sure.
people are trying. Like,
Yeah,
really hard.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, it's fine to be like academically inclined. You have that ability, right, to like really hunker down and like learn something even though you don't want to learn it is a really impressive skill, right? And like high school is like hit and miss, you know, so like, you know, whatever, you know, like some people are not focused on high school at all, right?
Yeah.
To be fair, you kind of don't need to be a lot of the time. Like the stuff we learn in high school, people learn in like a semester in college or in university, you know? It's like one class is like all of high school math, you know? So like it goes to show like part of high school is like just keeping kids occupied for a little bit of time, you know? Giving them that space to like learn something more deeply, but a lot of them don't take it, right? Either way, like I was a bad student, technically. Like I did the same thing. I wouldn't study I wouldn't study the specific thing we needed to learn for the test. Cause like that doesn't feel.
See, that's someone who's smart, you know. Like I'm like, right, I know better than you.
It's not that I knew better. I definitely didn't. I was just like more interested in other stuff,
Okay.
right? So definitely I've had moments in school where like I got bad grades even though I shouldn't have because I'm like interested in the subject,
Same.
you know?
Yeah.
So just how it goes, right? What was the original question? I completely forgot now.
Which group I'm in?
Which group are you in? Yeah, so you're definitely in like my anime weeb friends a little bit, you know, in that like clan. Just because I see you at a
How dare
talkathon.
you put me in the weebs
Well, I mean, like
box?
weebs in video games, you know, like it's a specific group, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You're like much closer to like my robotics friends than I would
Oh.
say than my car friends, you know.
Okay.
Obviously, yeah, like you're much more like I can bring you to an event with them. Like sometimes we'll go to like a game bar, like La Bis or something, and we'll like play Magic the Gathering or whatever, or play board games and stuff. I'm sure if I brought you to one of those hangouts, you'd fit right in, you know. I don't know if you like Magic the Gathering or not,
Never
but
played.
yeah, I'm sure you would enjoy it. If you like card games, then you probably would like it.
It's more like I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm like, I know if I get into this,
Magic, you're gonna love it.
I'll probably get addicted.
Yeah.
Equals, I'll probably spend a lot of money. And I've been told by every single Magic Gathering player that this is very expensive.
It is very
It's a
expensive.
very expensive
Yeah,
hobby.
yeah.
And now that I'm at a point where like I have disposable income, I'm like, I don't
Wanna spend it?
Because back then with Yu-Gi-Oh, I had to beg my parents to buy me a pack.
Right.
Now I have disposable. I can
You could just do it.
do it,
Just
but
buy
I'm
the
like,
cards.
no. Like one thing that almost made me get back into it was when they announced the One Piece cards.
Oof.
And I saw the art, I was like, this looks really good.
It was Yu-Gi-Oh! One Piece or is Magic the Gathering One Piece?
No, it's like a
Just One Piece, like its own card game.
Its own
Okay,
card
yeah.
game, yeah. And I looked and I was like, oh, plus they just started, so I could
Get in.
I could just get in now and get everything, and
Yeah.
it keeps going. I'm like, then I was like, no.
No, I can't do this.
And then speaking of Magic Gathering, they just announced that next year they're doing a Final Fantasy collab. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, they have this cool thing called Secret Lair, right? Which is just like they collaborate with some brand. Right now they're doing Marvel, so they have Iron Man cards. I was like, oh, I want those.
And then I was in this Discord with the some people that play Magic Gathering, and I asked them, I was like, so okay, how does these usually work with like these with partnership type of cards? And then they wrote me like a breakdown of like a 1-pager. I'm like, so that means I'm gonna have to spend 4-digit to get all these cards. Like, yeah,
Pretty much,
I was like, that.
Yeah, if you want the whole set, for sure. Yeah, you're gonna spend a ton of money.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's why we'll play. Like, I don't even really play that much, honestly. Like, a lot of the time I don't even bring my own deck because my friends will just bring a deck, right? But you can print your own cards because we're not playing competitively, so people print proxies and stuff. You know,
It's not about the playing; it's about collecting for me.
it's the collecting. You don't actually like the game that much. Yeah.
Well, no, I've never played. I've also never read the rules, so I don't know.
For Magic or for Yu-Gi-Oh, you used to play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, I love Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, it's very similar. Like
Yeah.
the only difference is that like instead of sacrificing monsters to summon other monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh, you'll play mana, and then you'll tap it. You'll play like lands basically, and like you spend them to summon monsters basically. You know, so you have to have available resources to summon monsters. So this is really the only difference. Otherwise, it's
Yeah.
pretty similar.
And just be like, I'm not sure talking about Magic Gathering. It's just I never played it, and I know it's gonna be a big spend for me. So
Yeah,
that's why
exactly.
that's why I've never got into it. I have nothing
Yeah,
against it.
there's formats that you can play that are not super expensive, but again, if it's for collecting, then you're gonna spend a ton of money. Yeah, so
I have other stuff to do.
yeah, suffice to say, you'd be able to fit in with them. They all watch anime, they all play card games. They're all nerdy dudes. You know, like we're all nerdy dudes. So that's where I would say you
Okay.
fit in
Okay.
my group of friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I had an exclusive my family group.
My family. No, honestly, like the people that are in my pseudo family, my fake family are
Hey,
very-
don't use that. Don't
we
use
don't
the
use
word
that word.
fake.
It's not
Whoa.
fake. It's real. Sorry. They are honestly from like lots of different walks of life. You know, like some of them are like that.
Just like my actual family.
Yeah, exactly. They are like, you know, I have one guy. His name is Patrick. He's super sweet. He likes cars and motorcycles and stuff. But he also does robotics with me. So like, he kind of has that interesting duality. But he likes robotics because of like the the mechanical nature of it, like of the things meshing together, So like people, like the world is a tapestry, right? So it's like people have these weird quirks about them that make them different from like the typical character that you might have of someone who likes cars or someone who likes, robots or someone who likes video games or whatever, right? So, there's all kinds of different people.
Well, this is a nice segue. So is that how you got into bikes too?
Oh man. So motorcycles is like, I liked motorcycles since I was young.
Oh.
I actually know the exact moment I was like, I want a motorcycle. When Tron, the 2011 Tron came out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So in that movie, there's a scene where Sam Flynn rides a Ducati Sport Classic 1000, 2006.
I really lost me.
Yeah, I know. It's like the coolest bike I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
And in that moment when he was like weaving through traffic, driving down the street, and like he eventually like infiltrates his dad's company and like breaks in and like steals software or something in the movie. In that moment, I was like, I want a motorcycle. Right?
Damn.
It's like I decided there. And it took me a long time to get there because like obviously like my parents are not into the motorcycle thing. Like they hate that I ride them.
Okay.
Just because it's dangerous. It's super dangerous, right? And so I had to put it off for a long time, but I would always talk about it with my friends. Let's get our license. Let's get our license. I didn't want to do it alone,
Do your parents know you have a license? That you have a...
Yeah, they do now.
Okay.
They do now, yeah. When I got my license, I didn't tell them I was getting it until it was way too late for me to back out so that they couldn't like force me or convince me to stop, Like I had already taken my test basically. And I told my mom, oh, by the way, I'm getting a motorcycle license. And she was like, not happy, but I mean like, whatever. Same thing when I bought my motorcycle. I just showed up with it one day. And like, did you buy a motorcycle? I'm like, yeah, of course. What do you expect? It was my little rebellious phase. But yeah, no, that's when I like really started wanting one. I mean, obviously it goes way back too. Like I have a picture of myself with my uncle on a motorcycle, and it's like a very precious memory to me. And I was like a baby, but it's like a precious memory in the fact that I have that picture.
Do you remember riding it with your uncle?
No, so he never like took us riding, but he had a Corvette. A 1976 Corvette Stingray, or it might have been a 77. I can't quite remember. I think it was 76 though. And he would take us for drives, in it, and it was super fun. Like it's just like a really raw feeling because it was like a car that he had built himself from scratch. Like he bought a rotted out shell of it and started from nothing and built it up to be a running, functioning vintage car. It was really nice, So yeah, he would take us for rides around it, and that's where my like love of cars came from, is with him, And
what is it? Is it the machine itself, or is the thrill of riding?
I think it's
or
a
both?
bit of both. Yeah. So like that's probably where it starts for me, is like I love the intricacies of how it all works, of like what's happening, and like I love learning about the way that the parts interact and how they ultimately result in X amount of power output, right? But, there's also that adrenaline of like driving fast somewhere, or cutting, especially on motorcycles, right? You just like cut through a landscape.
Oh, you're one of those bastards that always...
No,
in between lanes?
No. That's really illegal. That's super illegal here. I would never admit to doing that on a public forum. But no, it's just like being on a wide open highway, right? Without anything around you, just like wind rushing past you is like a really exciting feeling, especially at first, right? When you start riding for the first time, it feels really extraordinary, right? It never like fully loses its magic, but like over time you get used to it, right? It's like, because at first it's like a little bit scary, obviously, right? Everything feels way faster than it is, even though you're like going like 90, 100. because of the sensation of the wind blowing past you, you feel like you're going super fast, and like your head, like you have to, like your neck muscles are not used to like holding yourself up with the wind blowing past you. So you're like, your head is getting, buffeted, right? Getting knocked around from the wind. Eventually like your neck muscles develop a little bit and you get used to having a helmet on, and then you get used to that feeling, and you learn to mitigate that. You can tuck down and stuff.
You know what's funny? One of my only memories of the last time I went to China, which was like 20 plus years ago, was, I'll call him an uncle, I don't remember who it was giving me a ride on his bike.
Nice.
And I remember I was in the front seat, so I remember
the wind hitting you.
Not just the wind, but like everything moving fast, and
Yeah.
like there's like just like you can just reach for everything. It seems
Yeah.
like versus a car, you're inside the cubicle, whatever I call it.
We call them cages.
Cages.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember that. I remember that feeling actually. Yeah, but it's been a while.
Yeah. I mean, you're more vulnerable too, right? So it's like something to keep in mind.
Well, I was a kid.
You were a kid, so
I
you were
didn't know
in
better.
control. Yeah, for sure. But it's still something you like is in the back of your mind when you're riding. Like someone can sideswipe you and you can like go down and have a really bad time, So like you're taught when you like learn to ride a motorcycle to ride defensively as if people don't see you, right? This is like my favorite line from my motorcycle instructors is like, congratulations, everyone. You officially have a superpower today. You have the power of invisibility, right? Because, motorists or car, vehicle drivers will not see you. So you have to make sure that you are never in their blind spot. You are in places where even if they don't see you and they change lanes or they do something sketchy, that you won't get yourself hurt, right? So like what that means is that I always drive without anyone to the left or right of me directly. Like if someone is in a car and I'm on the highway, they're always diagonally to the front, back, or behind, whatever. So, it's just about being aware of your surroundings and making sure that you're never in like a bad situation.
As I sometimes drive cars, and I get scared when I see
A motorcyclist, yeah,
because I'm like I hope I don't hit them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
because you guys are in the same lane as us as cars,
Mm-hmm.
versus like at least like for bike
bicycles,
lanes,
yeah,
like I know I can expect a bike to be there, even though some
exactly.
people don't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I know you guys are vulnerable. Also, I play enough video games to know what happens when I hit someone on a motorcycle.
Yeah, they go tumbling. Yeah,
Or the opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
I love to use motorcycles
one day.
in games.
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
I mean, you should try one in real life one day. It's a lot less scary on dirt, like if you're riding a dirt bike, but it's not the same as riding on the street. Like they're different skills. I learned the hard way. So it's like it's just a good experience in general. Like part of wanting to ride a motorcycle also comes from me wanting to be able to operate any kind of vehicle I might sit in. I love that idea of like.
I'm sorry. Do you customize your bike?
I haven't. I've been planning on doing that this winter. Actually, I want to paint my bike. So I have like a good idea, but I kind of want to talk to an artist or something about a better design. But I have a color palette in mind.
Okay.
So
I meant more in the sense like the gears and stuff. Like make it. I don't know.
Oh, modify it.
Modify it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot you can do in terms of like performance modification that are legal. Yeah, for sure. On a bike, a lot of the time, all you can really do is like change the exhaust system. I mean, you could like. The problem is it's either very little modification or like a ton of modification to a bike, right? There's no in between. Like in a car, if you want to modify it to be faster or something, you can put a turbo or like a supercharger, which is just like a device that is used to take exhaust fumes and force them or to make pressure into your engine, so to force more air into your engine, right? So that will make your car faster because it has more air being supplied to it. With a bike, you could do that, but it's like no one does that. It's like really difficult and doesn't make any sense to do. So what people will do if they modify a bike is they'll completely swap the engine with something else, right? They'll put like a completely different engine on a different frame, but at that point it's like just buy the original. You know, there's not a lot going on a motorcycle. It's just an engine and wheels and brakes. Like that's it, you know?
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of the stuff you'll do is cosmetic a lot of the time. And then some performance, like changing your exhaust system and like tuning it will give you some performance gains, right? But like not a ton, right? It's not going to be a completely different bike. And I've thought about doing that, you know. I've had moments on private property where I've taken off the exhaust of my bike. You're not allowed to do that. Taken the exhaust off of my bike and ridden it, and it's super loud. It's like crazy, but it sounds awesome. It sounds really. I have a video of it.
I hate loud bikes.
Loud bikes, yeah,
I
for sure.
hate it.
That's why I don't do that. You know,
I have this neighbor in the morning. They have to
start their car or their bike.
No, start their bike, and I hear it in the backyard.
It's super loud, yeah.
And it's like right next where I'm sleeping. I'm like,
That's super annoying.
I'm like, what are you trying to prove? It's 7 a.m.
Yeah, that's the dark side of, you know, cars and stuff, is the annoyance they cause to other people. It's a shame, right? Because like it's a fun subculture if it wasn't for like the trouble you cause other people, right? And like a lot of people in that subculture will say, well, you know, forget them. It was gonna be a lot less nice, but anyway, whatever, you know, screw them, you know, like it's their problem. And that might be that guy's mindset who's starting his bike at 7 a.m. It's like, he's like, not my problem, you know, you don't like it, move, you know. I don't love that, obviously, but
Bad apples in your
exactly.
your culture.
Yeah, exactly. It's how it goes, you know. I try to not be like that. I don't really modify my car either, you know. My friends give me so much shit for it too. They're like, oh, why don't you do something? Why don't you like buy a project car? Why don't you blah, 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 right? But it's expensive, right? And I can appreciate someone else's build just as much as my own, you know. Maybe I don't get to drive it, but it's fine. You know, like I'm okay with that.
Does your baby have a name?
My baby?
Yes.
No, I don't have, I've never named I used to have a name for my car. I don't remember what it was. And like I'll call my bike the Susie because it's a Suzuki, right?
Yeah, Susie. That's a good name.
Yeah, but I have two Suzukis now. I have a dirt bike Suzuki, which is a oh my gosh. So my SV650 is my street bike, and then my dirt bike is it's not a DR. Oh my god, I forgot the RV90, which is like a very small farm bike, basically. It's not really a dirt bike, but it's a vintage bike from 1973. So it's very old. I actually had to like do repairs on it recently. It's still like kind of broken. The clutch cable snapped. And like to get it, I had to like FaceTime with like a retired man in Belgium to get the parts. Like I was speaking with him about like what parts I needed and stuff like that. And, he's mailing them to me. They're probably in my mailbox right now if I go home and check. Yeah. So I gotta fix them. I gotta fix my bike. But yeah.
Did you ride a bike to come here?
No, it's way too cold now. Yeah. Like my limit is like 7-8 degrees. You know, if it's 7 or 8 degrees.
It's not that cold today.
Yeah, it's 6.
It's one too low.
Trust me, it's really cold. It's super cold. Even if you bundle up and stuff, it's so cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can imagine with the speed, and you get all the.
Yeah. So the rule of thumb is for every 100 kilometers per hour you're going, it's minus 10 degrees Celsius. So if you're so if you're riding and it's 10 degrees outside, you go 100 on the highway, it's 0. Right? So if it's 5, it's -5, right? It gets cold fast, you know?
You should buy one of those coats when you can like heat up.
I want one. I was thinking of getting one, straight up. Like you can get so many nice heated grips too on your motorcycle because like they can be on the handlebars.
Yeah.
So your hands get really cold.
Yes.
You know, and that's the worst part.
Even when you drive a car, like you can't get cold if you don't put gloves on.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. If it's really cold out and your steering wheel is cold. So yeah.
Okay.
I've been thinking about getting it. That might be a modification I do over the winter. We'll see.
Well, that's not really a modification, but sure.
Yeah, I mean, you take the handle.
The handle. Yes, I thought you meant the coat.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So we're
coming up on time.
So switch gears. Let's do a quick rapid fire
questions.
Yes.
Sure.
If we were to write a book about you, what would be its title?
Oh my God. Uncertainty.
Uncertainty?
Yeah. Just because I don't know what I'm doing. I never know the right. Not because I bring an element of uncertainty, just because I am uncertain as a person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. Favorite D&D stat?
Favorite D&D stat?
Yeah.
Oh man. I'm a wizard main, so intelligence for sure.
Just because it's good for wizards?
Yeah, it's the main wizard stat, and it's just like, you know.
Okay.
I feel like
Okay, here's another D&D. Favorite type of dice? Like how many face?
Oh, how many faces?
Oh, well, is that... I'm not too familiar with dice. Were you going to say something else?
I mean, like there's types. There's like the material they're made of is like.
Oh yeah. You show me your collection here.
Yeah, exactly. I like the gemstone ones. They're really cool.
Okay.
Like, they're like sharp gemstone, they're like made of stone, which is really nice. And they feel weighty, which is cool. But I really like the weird shaped dice, as in I like the ones that are not the shape you'd expect them to be. So like you can get a D6, a 6-sided dice, but the 6-sided dice is the typical cube, right? But you can also get them in the shape of like a crystal, basically, like a thin crystal that you roll. Those are super cool. There's always like unique dice. Like I have one that's like that, and that's probably my favorite dice.
Is it mathematically proven that it's like a dice, or it's okay?
That it's random? Yeah,
okay.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, fair. Favorite anime?
Favorite anime? If you asked me like a couple months ago, I would probably say something like My Hero Academia.
What happened?
The ending is not good, apparently. I got spoiled on what the ending is.
Oh, the actual ending of the
manga.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm like so disappointed.
Okay, I heard that. I heard they stretched it out a little bit too much.
Well, it's just like what they did, you know.
Okay.
I don't like what they did to the character.
Okay, don't tell me. I'm just watching the anime. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know you were a big fan. Remember when I was sharing?
Huge fan.
I was sharing you my.
I still am.
No. But like I was giving you like my Crunchyroll like guest pass.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, I mean, I still like when I work out, I listen to My Hero Academia music, like the soundtrack. It's like so motivating. It's hilarious.
It's good.
Yeah.
But what's your current favorite then?
I mean, it's I don't think it's running right now or like it's off season, but I really like Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. It's like a slice of life, just like a girl bullying her senpai. It's so cute. I know. It's so wholesome.
You put it as your Discord profile.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if you still have it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, that's weird. Brownie, probably, I would say.
What the hell?
Yeah, like.
Okay.
Yeah, I love brownies. I love sweet treats.
Okay. I'm judging, but I'm classy. I'm just vanilla.
Vanilla? Okay, fair enough.
I'm boring. Well, favorite food?
Oh, I don't think I can put that like in a. Oh man. Okay, I really like. There's something called parmigiana melanzana in Italian culture, which is like eggplant fried, and then you put it in a lasagna instead of pasta.
Oh,
it's really good.
Okay,
good. It's like one of my like favorite meals of my.
I love lasagna. I love eggplants.
Great. Okay. I have some at home if you ever want.
Well, it's fried. You fry the eggplant.
You fry the eggplant and then you cool it off and then you make a lasagna out of it.
Do you still put cheese and tomato sauce?
Tomato sauce and meat, yeah, or sometimes meat, sometimes no. But
okay,
yeah,
I'm drooling. I don't know if you know.
It's really good.
Well, also it's lunchtime.
Yeah, for sure. We're getting there.
Okay, all right. That's it for that.
Okay.
If you remember,
yeah,
I said today I have a surprise for you.
Okay, what was your surprise?
You probably noticed I have something.
Yeah,
here.
I was wondering what that was.
So
worried.
While you're here, I want to get your live reaction on this.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
So this is a little gift for you for being on the show.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Okay,
when you're ready, turn around.
Whoa! No way! You commissioned art?
Yes. So this is part of it's a cover of our podcast, and obviously you see chibis of yourself and I.
Oh my god!
The word I gave them for what are your hobbies and stuff, I said a D&D guy. So that's why you're like a sort of like costume, and you see some D&D.
Oh my god!
Dice and stuff on the other side.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for coming to the show. So this is a gift I'll give to every guest. So
oh my god.
Glad you like it.
It's a good gift, man.
Yeah. You're the first guest, so I'm happy to see the first one is good.
I've never gotten personalized art like this. I think someone drew me once, like a long time ago. This is like the first time I've ever gotten something.
Okay, good. Well, glad you like it. Nice.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Man. Oh
yes.
my gosh.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's our chibis. I can even send you some from the chibis.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. It's super fun.
Anything else you want to say to our audience before I let you go?
Yeah, I don't have anything I'm really shouting out. I mean, if you want to like read my blog or like follow me on Blue Sky, you could triassi.dev. If you're
Remind them what's your blog address?
blog.triassi.ca. So, just if you're passionate about software development and web technologies and you are listening, like follow me, especially if you live in the Montreal area. I'd love to like build a community of people. I'd love kind of groups of people that are passionate, as you can probably tell if you got to the end of this, So
they already left after your
they
nerdy talk.
Yeah, exactly.
The first few minutes.
They didn't like it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you are interested in that stuff and you want to chat about it, follow me, and I'd be happy to, spark some conversation.
Cool. Yeah, and that's it for this very first episode of Tell Should Tell. This is our inaugural and, dare I say, pilot season. I don't know if I'm going to do more of this of the show. If you like this podcast and would like to help keep the mics on, please consider following and subscribing to this show on your favorite podcast platforms, which I think will be on Apple, will be on Spotify, and I think will be on YouTube. To be decided.
Okay.
Your support is greatly appreciated. And of course, if you have any feedback to help make this show better, please leave them in the comment section or reach out to me via social channels. As always, I hope you stay safe, always be kind to each other. I'm your host, David Liu, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Let's get a high five.
High five.
Yeah.